Betting with the Barbers, powered by Superbook Sports, is back in your life. What is up, NFL fans? I'm Ron Kruk, joined by the battling Barber brothers, former New York Giant Tiki Barber and former Buck Rondé Barber. What is up, guys?
How are you? Battling. I like that. That would describe our youth very, very succinctly. Just
yes. I would always win until I hurt myself, and then we stopped.
Okay.
One of these shows, we are going to come in with footage of the battling Barber brothers. So you got to stick around for that. Guys, I hate to begin the week with, really some ugly and unfortunate news, but we got to discuss the major story coming out of the NFL this week. John Gruden resigning as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders less than 4 years into that massive 10-year, $100 million contract due to, a slew of extremely controversial and insensitive emails, to say the least, that he sent out when he was working with ESPN, the New York Times leaking and exposing these emails during an NFL investigation into the Washington football team. Rondé, let's begin with you. Of course, you were such a key part of that Buccaneers team that won the franchise first Super Bowl in 2003, and that was coached by John Gruden. You know him very well. Give us your reaction to this story.
Well, I'll start by saying it's almost impossible for me to be objective, having played and won and benefited financially by being under John's leadership. And, to this day, I consider John a friend. And because of this, he won't stop being my friend. I texted him this week already, and he's truly remorseful. He'll learn from it. And but it's impossible, to deny or dismiss the egregious nature, the callousness of the emails. And I'm sure when he was writing them to Bruce Allen and the other recipients on those emails, he never expected anybody else to see those, right? But it's the nature of them and that they're in the light that makes this such a complicated matter. You can't condone it. He resigned for a reason. People want to say cancel culture is at its all-time high. Well, it almost has to be because of the nature of diversity, inclusion, all these other initiatives that are pushing forward, and the league's a champion of them. They put them on the back of people's helmets now, and it would look bad on everybody if they allowed him to continue to coach. But that being said, whom of us can cast this stone? That's how I look at this. There's probably things that I said when I was younger that I wish that I wouldn't have. The only difference between John and me and you and Tiki perhaps is that it's not ever going to see the light of day, and that's just the nature of this world. He got caught, and he becomes immediately a huge example of what our world is trying to move away from.
Yeah. And Ron, I think the bigger story here is that John Gruden is the leader of an organization, not by title the CEO, but he's the face. And not only that, he's one of the icons of a generation, right, simply because of his championship medal as a head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but also because of his work at ESPN, where he generated hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of connections to ESPN because of the work that he done there. Let's just be real, as Rondé said. We're in a culture and a society where things like this are unacceptable, especially when you are a leader of men and an example that we want our youth and people in this country to live up to.
Guys, appreciate your insights and perspective on this story that really has dominated the NFL headlines this week. But because we are a betting show, I do want to mention some information that we received yesterday from Jay Cornegay, the chief odds maker at Superbook, during an interview yesterday. He said there really wasn't a Gruden effect where the coach's departure changed the betting line. And he said that rarely a coaching change does influence betting line.
Coaching changes don't really affect a line, and that's exactly what is the case with this announcement. The Broncos opened up a 2.5-point favorite over the Raiders this week, and they gradually moved up to 3.5 prior to the announcement. Since the announcement, the line has been very steady, so nothing has changed with the announcement.
So with that little tidbit will lead us into our first game of week number 6. Our first bye week, fellas. 4 teams, the Falcons, Saints, Jets, and 49ers get the week off. And no shocker here, we begin with the AFC West battle between the 3-2 Vegas Raiders and the 3-2 Denver Broncos. This game really has been thrust into the national spotlight following Gruden's resignation. 2 teams that started the season off, guys, 3-0, but have both dropped back-to-back games. Broncos falling to Pittsburgh last week, and the Raiders coming off a home loss to the Bears. Early lines, according to Superbook, had the Denver Broncos as a 2.5-point favorite, and the line has moved up, guys, to -3 as of this recording. Again, that movement took place before the Gruden announcement came, according to Cornegay at Superbook Sports. The over-under in this game is at 44.5. Tiki, break down this matchup for us.
Yeah, I'll just jump right off the bat and say I actually like the Raiders getting 3.5 points here. And it's not because, losing John Gruden is galvanizing or there was some toxic culture that now is eradicated. But I really like, and Rondé will speak even more to this, Rich Bisaccia as their assistant head coach, or now he's their head coach, interim head coach, who was a special teams coordinator, because of his ability to connect to people. And if there's one guy on that staff that I know can get them back on track, it's Rich. And so with that being said, I also don't trust the Denver Broncos when it comes down to just the X's and O's. They started the season beating the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars. And when they started playing some teams that actually had some umption behind them, they've fallen into 2 in a row. Their defense has looked vulnerable as of late. And if this Raiders team starts to get healthy, which they sort of are, Josh Jacobs tried to come back last week. I think he'll be more healthy this week. And they get involved with, Renfro and Ruggs and Darren Waller. I think the weapons on the Raiders side are certainly greater, especially if they can't get pressure on their quarterback, Derek Carr. Now, I've never been through moments like this, at least not emotional moments like this, like the Raiders have been through. But there is something circle the wagonish that happens when these type of issues, coach gets fired, etc., especially early in the season. So I like the Raiders getting 3.5 here, even though they're on the road in Denver.
Well, we're supposed to be battling Barbers, but in this instance, we are definitely congruent. And I do like this Denver defense. I do think they'll put up a strong test. They are top 2 in defense and scoring. And look, Teddy Bridgewater, he played last week. He's still an effective and efficient quarterback. He's 7 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. That being said, they are so very conservative as a football team, and they just don't excite you enough to think that they can beat a team in the Raiders if they get going. Like, Raiders have had 2 subpar games, right? 400 yards passing total for Derek Carr in the past 2 weeks. But they have an offense, right, that has so many weapons. Ruggs is second in the league, maybe tied for first in the league in yards per catch. I don't know what's happened to Darren Waller, but they need to get him more involved. And it's easy to discount the Raiders because they lose their head coach in John Gruden. But as Tiki said, Rich Bisaccia has been waiting for this opportunity forever. I've known him since my Super Bowl years. Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator, will now assume the play calling duties. Well, guess what? Greg Olsen has called plays for Derek Carr before John Gruden was there. So I don't think there's any drop off at all there. And then you look at the remainder of their staff. They have Gus Bradley, who has been with them before. They have Rod Marinelli on that staff. They're not going to be lacking leadership in terms of the coaching division. I think this team is poised to galvanize themselves off this. It's going to have that mentality, us against the world, and no better place to do it. A division on the road and a team. And really, if they're looking at it, that they're going in as underdogs. Everything's against them. I think this is where the Raiders rally and get back to their winning ways.
Well, if you two won't battle, okay, I'll do it. I'm just guys. Yes, the Denver homer here. But listen, what's crazy here in Colorado right now is, the spotlight's on the Raiders, but suddenly there is massive pressure on this Denver Broncos football team. If they lose their 3rd in a row to their rival, that is dealing with all these external problems, led by a special teams coach, which you guys gave great insight, by the way. Too many people outside the business don't know who he is. But that would be a very difficult pill for the Broncos country to swallow, and for head coach Vic Fangio. I think the Raiders offense is coming down, has been struggling a little bit. They are getting more healthy, which is scary. But if this Denver secondary can actually cover someone, which they're getting paid to do, I think that they have so much on the line and so much pressure on them. I think they have to get a win this week. I'm going to take Denver to cover at home.
Hey, Ron, a lot of ifs and buts and maybes in that one.
It sure was. I mean, I got like maybe the over-under on my ifs and buts was set at 6, and I went over on that. But I don't know. It's just that's my take on it. All right. But you guys, everybody should stay on top of the latest odds and line movement at superbooksports.com, and make sure you download the Superbook app today. Let's keep the action rolling now and break down game number 2, a huge matchup, AFC versus NFC battle between two top teams. The Cardinals, 5-0, the last of the unbeatens, put that spotless record on the line when they travel to Cleveland, who has been playing some great football. Come in, they could easily be 4-1. They come in with a 3-2 record, guys. We were talking about earlier, not often that you can get points with an unbeaten 5-0 team, but that's the value you get this week with the Cardinals. Superbook opened up this line early in the week. The Cleveland Browns, a -2.5 favorite. They are currently -3 with the point total sitting at 49 points. Rondé, break down this game for us.
All right, so the Cardinals are leading the league in magic, right? Kyler Murray has been so good, just finding ways to win football games. Now, they survived against a team in San Francisco without their starting quarterback. Rookie had to come in and play and almost beat them. But what they've been able to do over the course of this year, especially with their quarterback, is manufacture ways to win. Whatever it takes for the Arizona Cardinals to win, Kyler Murray has been able to produce for them. That being said, they are going to be without Chandler Jones. He's on the COVID list. They have some other players, Buda Baker, J.J. Watt, Byron Murphy. Are they good enough to stop the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL? Nick Chubb and Hunt are a dominating force in the run game. And last week, Cleveland, I look at them as an analyst. I look at them. They're the better team on paper. They put up 500-plus yards and 42 points with no turnovers last week and lost. So was their defense exposed? Yes. But I think if they're able to contain Kyler Murray, that all that off-schedule stuff, keep him in the pocket, make him have to be a pocket passer, which they have the guys on defense to do that. Myles Garrett's the best pass rusher in the league, if you ask me. They have the guys to do that. But can the Cleveland Browns go win at home with 3 points? Yes, I would take that right now, any day, all day.
And now we're battling because I think you're dead wrong. Give me the dog in this one. You gotta take the dog in the Arizona Cardinals here. Yes, and I know they're on the road, and the dog pound is the dog pound in Cleveland. But Arizona does something very unique that gets good teams with good defenses simply out of whack. We remember the Los Angeles Rams a couple of weeks ago, who have been one of the best teams in football defensively, got run through to the tune of a 37-20 that game was. And by the way, the game was out of hand. I mean, they scored a cosmetic touchdown at the end of the game. Arizona is good on both sides of the football. And I understand what you're talking about with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett did a number on Rashawn Evans last weekend. Rashawn Slater last weekend. He gave up his first 2 sacks. He's got 23 pressures, that sacks, hits, hurries, etc., on quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He is great. However, when you are a good defense and you see a Kyler Murray for the first time, it changes your calculus on how to play football. And that's exactly what happened to the Los Angeles Rams. And it's the same thing that's going to happen to the Cleveland Browns. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs have Pat Mahomes, and the Houston Texans had Davis Mills, or, Tyrod Taylor, and then Davis Mills. And then the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields, and Kirk Cousins with the Minnesota Vikings, and Justin Herbert with the Los Angeles Chargers. None of them move Kyler Murray is special, man. Like he's a front runner for the Heisman Trophy for a reason. They're undefeated for a reason. They got their James Conner actually played good football, the running back, and Chase Edmonds is a second as well. So their run game is just dynamic. The pass game, we know what it is with Hopkins and AJ Green. You got to give me the dog here, the road dog in the Arizona Cardinals, as they stay unbeaten if you're doing the money line, but certainly covering the 3.5.
Well, you threw a lot of names out there. I just like to say that Baker Mayfield hasn't played up to snuff yet.
Yes.
He only has
there's a reason. By the way, that line was 3, not 3.5. But my point is, Baker doesn't play up to snuff.
He only has 4 touchdowns, passing touchdowns this year.
Yes.
And they are 6th in the league in scoring.
And you think they're gonna you think they're gonna beat the best, one of the best teams, if not the best team in football, when Baker Mayfield can't give it to you consistently? You are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, success, or in some cases failure, is a habit.
Well, they're still scoring a whole lot of points, and their quarterback hasn't hit his stride yet. And Odell Beckham Jr. has played the last couple of weeks. I'm still waiting for him to step up. Njoku's their leading receiver. I'm telling you, there's a lot more for this Cleveland team to go. And I've been on Cleveland. Actually, I've been on all the Ohio teams this year. I think I was on Cincy last week in Cleveland. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a homer for Ohio, but
well, it took 2 games, and now we've got the true battling Barbers going at it. For me, I look at this game quickly, guys. Just that rushing game of Chubb and Hunt is so impressive. I think that's going to be the key. And for the first time, I mean, the Cardinals looked a little vulnerable and couldn't run the ball last week. As you mentioned, Tiki, only 17 points, but their defense stepped up against San Francisco. I think they grind that ball, Cleveland does, and keeps Murray on the bench for a little bit. If they can keep him from running and out off the field, I'm taking the Browns in this one. A couple of Superbook prop bets before we move on, guys, coming in. The Browns are plus 175 to win the division. And that's trailing only the Baltimore Ravens, who come in at minus 150. Arizona still the favorites to win the NFC West, at minus 110. All right, we will keep the action rolling. Game number 3, we turn the spotlight on, is the Rams. We talking about the NFC West, traveling to the Big Apple to face an injury-plagued New York Football Giants team. Rams beat Seattle to improve to 4-1, but still a game behind those Cardinals, while the Giants went down big time to their rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, 44-20. And, I mean, the list of injuries, they lost Saquon Barkley, they lost Daniel Jones, they lost Kenny Golladay, and they were already without Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton and a couple of offensive linemen. And as of this recording, we should tell everyone that quarterback Daniel Jones is still in concussion protocol. So we could see Mike Glennon at quarterback for the Giants. The opening line, guys, according to Superbook, had the Rams as a massive minus 10.5 point favorite on the road. They are now at minus 11. The over-under is at 47.5. Tiki, the Giants may need you to suit up this week and get some reps in, my man.
Yeah, I mean, but they're my Giants. They're my Giants. And if you're going to give them 11 points, I'm going to take it. Give me the Giants. Just getting 11. Here's why. I think Daniel Jones will play. Like he did get a concussion. It was one of those where you just want to advise the kid, stay down. Right. Your day is over. You know it's over. Yes. Everybody can see that it's over. Stay down. Instead, he put a bad optic out on tape with him trying to stumble back to the huddle. I don't know if Saquon's going to play, but Booker has been a decent substitute in his stead. But most importantly, I think this offense has now started to figure out that Kadarius Toney, who I rightly thought he needed to wait his turn, has started to shine in the absence of all these other players, Galladay being hurt, and obviously Slater and Sterling Shepard as well. He did a number on one of the best defensive backs in the NFL last year. And I know Trevon Diggs is leading the league with 6 interceptions, but Kadarius Toney got like 8 feet of separation away from him because of his route running ability. And so Toney's going to be heavily featured. I think they'll play this game close to the vest and not take a ton of shots. If Mike Glennon has to start, maybe my thought will be different, but I think Daniel Jones is going to play in this game. The Rams are an interesting team simply because they have so much talent on both sides of the football, but they've been inconsistent at times. And a Giants team that has a lot to gain and something to prove, I think will be able to cover this humongous number. So give me the Giants. Plus 11.
Well, I will temper your optimism and say if Mike Glennon plays, this number can't get big enough. And Mike Glennon with Toney as your number one receiver, John Ross has 4 catches on the year, by the way.
That's because he's buried, man.
I know.
You know that.
But you know what I'm saying? Devontae Booker, I do think he's a compliment, to the running game. But Mike Glennon with those options at wide receiver and running back, no chance, man. This team, this Giants team, who I thought was going to be better on defense, has shown that they're not good enough. Blake Martinez is out. He's injured. Their leading tackler is Logan Ryan, corner. I mean, that can't happen, dude.
No.
And then you look at what they're going to have to go against with the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, the tight end, have been monsters all year. Well, last week, Robert Woods finally shows up. He has 12 catches for 150 yards. And now you're looking at the Giants defense and saying, how in the world do you compete with all that talent? Right. And then you look at the Giants with all their injuries. Dude, if Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd don't have a field day against whomever is playing quarterback, I will be shocked. This number can't go high enough for me. The Rams are getting ready to start a run and poised to start a run against some bad teams. So the balance of the NFC West, it starts now. There are 3-4 games here in a row where the Rams need to win and win convincingly. And the point that I forgot to make at the beginning here, they played on Thursday. They've had an extra 3 days to get ready for this game, and it's going to show no matter what that line ends up being.
Yeah, make sure you check out superbook.com and the Superbook app for the latest line movements. Right now, the Rams still second best odds to win the NFC. They are at 4-1, and that's just behind Tampa Bay. All right, guys, let's keep things rolling, and it's time now for the Superbook Sports Barber Brothers Game of the Week. Big drum roll as we pass it over to Tiki. What's your game of the week?
My game of the week is the Kansas City Chiefs laying 9, visiting the Washington football team. The reason I'm going here, and we know Kansas City just lost, and Pat Mahomes is saying, I got to do things differently. You got to reevaluate how we're playing. They put up points. Me and Rondé have Patty Mahomes on our fantasy team. And we put him on the bench last week, and it was the stupidest thing we did.
You know what else was stupid, by the way? You put him on the bench, and you put Buffalo's defense on the bench.
Yeah, that's true.
Thinking about what in the hell were you doing?
I don't know. Buffalo had 5 turnovers in that game, or 4 turnovers in that game. My point being is that Pat Mahomes, even when he plays bad, plays great. So I think that Patty Mahomes has a humongous rebound game against the Washington football defense, which was billed coming into this season as this elite taking the next step defense. They haven't nearly got the pressures up front. And more importantly, they have 2 interceptions on the season. 2, we're 5 games in. They're not getting turnovers. They're not impactful. And as much as I like the Taylor Heineke story, and as bad as Kansas City's defense is, I do think that the Chiefs find a way to get right and run away with this game if it's a shootout. So I like the Kansas City Chiefs laying 7 on the road.
Yeah. There you go. And Kansas City has the worst scoring defense in football, giving up 32.6 points a game. Well, guess who's right behind them? Tiki just mentioned the Washington football team. They're giving
right.
up 31 points per game. The over-under in this one set at 55.5 right now. I see a lot of points scored. I also like Kansas City in this one to rebound. That leads us now to Rondé's game of the week. Who do you like, my man?
Well, this is the first week where the best game of the week is not going to be in prime time. The best game of the week this week for me is 1 o'clock on CBS. It is the Los Angeles Chargers going to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens have been unconvincing, right? All season, basically all season long. They've had one great performance. They have 16 guys on IR right now. Lamar Jackson and his offense is basically Lamar Jackson, and then whoever else. He's coming off a 442-yard performance, 4 touchdowns, and right now he has twice as many rushing yards as any running back on his football team. So it's the Lamar Jackson show, right? And their defense has been not as good as you expect their great defense to be. I mean, they put themselves in a hole so many times, and Lamar saves them. They're getting 3 at home, right, against the Los Angeles Chargers team that I continue to say, with Herbert as quarterback, is the next coming of great football in this league. I know that their defense was a little suspect last week against Cleveland. We just talked about them earlier. But at the end of that game, Herbert had drives of 61, 75, 75, 48 for TDs to win that game at Cleveland. I think this team can win no matter where they play. They're doing a great job of coaching. They have a great complement on offense and defense, and they find ways to win football games. So depending on the mistakes that Los Angeles won't make, like the Colts made the week before, like the 2 teams that Baltimore played prior to the Colts, they won't make those mistakes. They'll win this game on the road. I'll take the points and them for the win against Baltimore. Right. I just think Baltimore's ready to implode.
I like it a lot, and really a huge matchup that, first place teams that could result in massive tiebreaker when we come to playoff time as the Ravens and Chargers battle. All right, guys, it's now time to bet it or bust it. Rapid fire. 3 bets that you either love and would bet if you like it, or if you hate it, you're busted. So let's deal out the questions first. We got some cool prop bets coming in this week. I like this. So our first bet it or bust it wager is we're looking at Thursday night football and the Tampa Bay Bucks taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. But the bet or bust question is, does Brady go over the 2.5 touchdown passes mark?
Oh, come on.
Tiki, are you betting or busting?
Oh, I'm betting this. Are you kidding? I mean,
Right.
And the worst thing you can do is let Tom Brady be aware of something like this, because he'll double it. Right.
So
this
true.
is easy over. Antonio Brown is turning back into Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike Evans is there too. I know Gronk has cracked ribs and, deflated lung or whatever the heck it is. It doesn't even matter, dude. Yeah. Tom Brady is playing at an all-time level. I saw the stat. He's on pace for 6,200 passing yards this year. Again, he's seen it. He's going for it. So 2.5 touchdowns, betting that over, man.
Bet it,
Rondé.
bet it.
100%.
Philadelphia.
Our money.
Yeah, I could just stop there and just say bet. But Philadelphia plays good teams. They don't perform well. And they're still dealing with a bunch of injuries on that side of the ball. Tom Brady is 353 yards a game and 4 touchdowns, averaging. Are you kidding me? Like, there's no way you could bust this. This is a bet all day, every day. Tom Brady's the best ever.
I love this bet too. And, since you were – full disclosure, I had Antonio Brown on my fantasy bench.
On your bench? Oh, dude.
On my bench. I'm with Tyler Boyd. How about that? It was you, Rondé. It's all that Bengals talk. You got me all excited. I don't know.
Can we go back to the Bengals? I was going to be so right on the Bengals, and I was pissed at the end of that football game when they couldn't find a way to cover that damn thing.
What a bad beat. 100%. Bengal fans had so many chances to win that game, but I digress. All right, let's look at our second bet it or bust it rapid fire question. Current MVP odds, guys. Josh Allen, a 9-2 favorite to win the award. Are you going to bet it or bust it?
I'm going to bust it. The MVP is going to be Tom Brady. I'm sorry. He's going to win another Super Bowl. He's dominating the league in passing yardage right now. There's nothing he can do wrong. He's got 15 touchdowns, second only to Patrick Mahomes, and only 2 interceptions. The guy doesn't make mistakes. You can throw Josh Allen in there. You can throw Herbert in there. You can throw Kyler Murray in there. You can throw Lamar Jackson in there with all his numbers. It's going to be Tom Brady, period.
Yeah, that's just an interesting one. I'm just looking at his stats right now, and they're not blowing you off the page, right? Josh Allen. But you know what? He's getting better as the season goes on. I'm going to bet this one.
9-2.
They have the best offense, one of the best offenses. I think the actually best offense in football. Their defense is starting to play elite level, so he's going to get more and more opportunities. And there's just something about the AFC East and the Bills dominating it the way that they have the last couple of years that just makes you feel excited about this team. He has an easy charisma about him. He's doing it with his legs as well as with his arm. I mean, I told you last week, he did the quarterback sneak. He takes it around the end for 16. Last week, he puts another one on the end zone. I mean, he's so dynamic. I'm going to bet this one for sure.
All right. And of course, our own Superbook Sports, Kristen Mackey, reminding us he is a University of Wyoming Cowboy.
There it is.
Thank you for that. We got it. Of course. Hey, and quickly, Tom Brady is an 8-1 odds. He has 8-1 odds right now to win that MVP. That's something we'll keep an eye on throughout the season. All right, here we go. We've got our final bet it or bust it this week. We're going to put the spotlight on college football, guys, and to win the national championship, the #1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs come in at a -110. I'm just going to throw the other odds out there quickly. Alabama is +350, Ohio State +800, Oklahoma +1200, and Iowa +2500. But we're focusing on the Georgia Bulldogs -110. Tiki, you betting it or busting
it? Take those whatever number of zeros and a 1 you want to put them on Alabama. They had a bad loss against Texas A&M, but that was Bryce Young's first trip to College Station, and it was raucous. It reminded me of 1995 when the Virginia Cavaliers beat the Florida State Seminoles, which seemed impossible at the time. Look, I like Georgia, but I'm going to bust this one. And the reason I'm busting it is despite their #1 defense in the nation, I think they're giving up 6 points a game. 6 points a game this season. I don't love their quarterbacks. JT Daniels came over from USC. He was supposed to be the second coming and just raise up this program. He's been injured with an oblique and internal lat injury. So Stetson Bennett, who's a great story. He's one of the feel-good stories. Absolutely. Great stories in college football. He's just not that dude if the University of Georgia Bulldogs got to outscore somebody. So I'm going to bust this one. I like Georgia, but I got to bust this one.
I am going to bet it. I don't see a team in college football that can deal with Georgia's defense, period. They are so good. Now, they have a good game this week, right? The number 11 Kentucky comes to town.
Yeah.
Is it a litmus test? Not really, but it's a test. And I think they'll show just how good they are, especially with that. Alabama is susceptible, right? They lost last week to Texas A&M. You watched the Florida game, Tiki. Alabama might not run.
They can't stop the run.
Alabama might not be the Alabama we think they once were, right?
They're definitely not
who they are. So I don't see. That being said, I don't see a team that's good enough to beat. It's not Iowa. It's not Oklahoma. It's not who else? Who beats them? I don't know who beats them. Is my point.
Cincinnati, maybe. I mean, honestly,
I'm an Ohio homer, but I'm
that's
not
pushing
quite. I'm not quite a Cincinnati Bearcats over.
Not jumping on that yet. Hey, you get
I'm taking this
3,000 to 1 odds with that, plus 3,000 with Cincinnati. Just saying.
Hey,
Just saying.
by the
Ronnie.
way, that's worth $100 bet. Cheers.
Yeah, good point. All right, guys, great job as always. We appreciate it, and we move on now to our season-long contest, Superbook Sports, giving you the chance to hang out with the Barber Brothers on Super Bowl weekend in Vegas. All you have to do is send in a question for the guys via Twitter. The handle is at Superbook Sports, at Rondé Barber, at Tiki Barber, and at R Cruck. You're in. It's just that simple. All right, guys, real quickly, we got a question coming in from Corey Walker, and this is it. He asks, which former MVP of a 4-1 team is more likely to ascend in the MVP race, Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar
Who do you
Jackson.
think?
Lamar Jackson. And the reason is, as Rondé mentioned, he does everything for this team. Last week against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday night, he was 95% of their offense. Rondé mentioned the 442 and 4 touchdowns. He also had 62 yards rushing on the day. They fell short of that 100-yard goal that they make every week, and they've done for 43 straight games. However, his completion percentage of 86% on the day was the highest ever in the history of the NFL for a quarterback throwing 40+ passes. By the way, there's been 4,088 examples of this, and Lamar Jackson had the highest completion percentage. I'm going to say Lamar.
Well, thanks for the bloviation there, Tiki. This is supposed to be hitting quick. Lamar Jackson. If MVP is most valuable player,
rules, Rondé.
The most valuable player for your team. The most valuable player for the Green Bay Packers right now is the kicker, because he continues to miss, and when he makes, they win. I say that in jest, but it is Lamar. Lamar is too much of the offense for their team to discount what he is doing. It is absolutely amazing what he's doing. So if those are the two, it's Lamar, but it's going to be Tom Brady.
All right, Corey Walker, you heard it here first. Tom Brady, 8-1 odds to win that MVP. Guys, great job as always. That's going to wrap up another episode of Betting with the Barbers. Hey, a quick staff from last week I didn't hit at the beginning of the show. Favorites 2 weeks in a row have come in. They covered 9 times last week. 7 underdogs came in, 4 winning outright. That brings the total to 32 outright underdog victories through 5 weeks. Before we kick off Thursday night, fellas, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be another fun week. There are a lot of interesting games, a lot of tough ones to pick. So be smart and follow superbooksports.com.
Absolutely. NFL's got some great games. College football has 3 good games. Yeah. Kentucky, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, who should have won last week, and then Florida, LSU. Florida is only -1, right? 1.5 at home to unranked LSU.
Just saying.
Enjoy your ball.
I love it, guys. Going to be a lot of fun in the NFL and college football for sure. Make sure that you sign up at superbook.com. Download the Superbook app for the latest odds. And as Tiki said, follow us on social media at Superbook Sports. Betting with the Barbers airs on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And check out the podcast version on Apple and Spotify as well. For Rondé and Tiki Barber, I'm Ron Cruck. Enjoy the games, and we will see you again next week for Betting with the Barbers.